All right, streaming live. Whew. Ladies, I will tell you what, I am feeling on fire right now. I am feeling on fire right now. Oh my God. It's so intense. It's so intense to be a person right now. And just the staggering numbers, like what happens to the human body, psyche, and physiology, physical body, emotions, hormones, perceptions, when we are addicted to something. And Lord, it is really intense when it's processed food, when it's things that people are buying each other and making for each other. I mean, if you're making it, it's, typically a little bit different, but buying for each other and eating and ingesting into our bodies and giving to each other as gifts and giving to our children. I mean, it's totally crazy. I'm sitting here in class with this 36 of these beautiful students that are all drinking, Red Bulls and Frappuccinos and, sports drinks. And they're not athletes. They don't need to be drinking sports drinks by any stretch of the imagination. And the anger and the frustration and the irritation and the lack of concentration, it makes it hard to learn, hard to concentrate, and hard to understand. And they're going out of the class because they got anxiety. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not a psychologist. Okay. And then she's missing all of this class. One of the girls comes to me and she says, "So sorry I wasn't in class last week, Miss Rose, but I've been having these anxiety attacks," which she's been sharing with me. And she's like, "So I went to the doctor and her heart rate was really low and all these different things were happening with her." And she explained to me what the doctor said because they did a bunch of tests. And she actually has a nutrient deficiency, right? Because she's not been eating properly. And I shared with her that I had the exact same thing happen when I was her age. And I told her why it happened for me. And she nodded her head and said, yeah, all of those things are true for her as well. So I gave her some suggestions on things to do and things to eat to increase her minerals in her body. So like sodium and potassium, because that's what regulates your heartbeat. It also regulates all of your hormones. And so if we are a society that is addicted to sugar and flour, I mean, I just went and Googled, you guys, this is not, me making this up or whatever. We're talking about lifestyle diseases. So what you're eating, what you're drinking, what you're thinking, what you're smoking, right? Our quote choices in life, because that's what they say is that we all have this choice. And yet when things are habitual and they start in childhood and they move through, and our natural way of relating to the world is to do what we did yesterday, today, and no one's teaching us anything differently, then how the heck are we just supposed to grow up and do better? Oh, that's kids' food, they'll grow out of it. Oh, that's kids, they can handle it. Well, I'm sorry, 10% of children just in the United States have fatty liver disease. That used to be something that only old men who drink too much got, in their 60s. Okay. And now 10% of children in the United States, 20% worldwide, right? That's crazy, right? There's another statistic right here I'm looking at. Chronic diseases are responsible for 7 out of 10 deaths in the United States, killing more than 1.7 million Americans each year. That's crazy. And yet it's still totally socially acceptable to bring donuts and candy into the office. How is that okay? Anyway, you guys, I'm totally on fire right now. I just remember so deeply what it was like to be caught in that addiction. And now that I'm not, and I can see so many people that I love and that I care about and the rest of the world in this crazy struggle, it doesn't have to be that gosh darn hard. So this is what we're talking about today, how to take back control, right? How do we actually make that choice? How do we actually step up and step out of our own patterning, our own habitual behavior, our own years of this cycle of going back and forth? What can we do to end that? What can we do to beat the odds, to beat the processed food addiction? And I know that sometimes when people get on these rants and rages like this, and then it's there's so many things that end up going into the category and it makes people crazy because it's well, what are you talking about? I mean, technically oats are processed. So what do you want me to do about that? Not even have oats? What is real food? And there's so much confusion about what we actually need as human beings to be alive and to be healthy and to be vibrant and to feed our minds and our bodies, and how do we enjoy it and also like have it serve our bodies. It's a lot to kind of unravel and to dissect and to understand, but I've come up with 3 things that I think can be very helpful for us on this journey. Right. And like, of course, the first things first, these aren't even part of the 3 things, but first things first, you got to admit that there's a problem. Right? That's the first step in going in any direction, is going, this is an issue. I see that this is an issue for me and I want to do something about it. So sugar and flour and processed foods are an issue for you. If you're not sure, that's actually a really good question. I hadn't totally considered. What if you're not sure if that's the issue? Because what if you're still in that old 80s mindset of you just need to exercise more and eat less? If you're still in that mindset, I strongly encourage you to reach out to me and schedule an appointment where we can go over and talk about some of this stuff. I encourage you to go onto YouTube and go onto Google and educate yourself. Start reading some books and talking to some people about the growing and expanding understanding that we actually have of the body and about health and about nutrition and what that actually means. So I really encourage you to dig a little bit deeper, to ask questions, to utilize your resources, and not necessarily ask advice, but seek wise counsel, right? Seek wise counsel. Ask the questions of people who have the kind of education that you're seeking, who have the kind of understanding and the knowledge that you would like to have, so that you can make educated and positive choices for yourself and move in the direction that you want to go. That's my suggestion there. So if you are in the camp of, I totally get what you're saying, Rose, and it is, I just don't really know how to navigate it. Like, what do you do? Like, I get that sugar is addictive and the added kind of sugars are a problem. I'm not getting into fruit sugar. That's a whole nother subject. And what I'm really talking about, I'm talking about the cakes and the candies and the pies and the sugar that's added to bread and to tomato sauce and to spaghetti and salad dressing and like all of this added stuff that triggers the little dopamine receptors in our brain. And we're like, yeah, hell yeah, that was awesome. Like, let's have more of that. Right? Talking about added sugars that's just like super pervasive, and also like just desserts and crackers and cakes and pies and, you know, all of that stuff that like once you have one, I mean, literally Pringles like demonetized on that. They monetized on the fact that their product is such crap. It's so highly processed that literally once you pop, you can't stop. Right? And it became like their slogan, their jingle, their whatever the hell you call it in marketing, where they were like, yep, that's the experience. We're not really going to tell you why, because we put a bunch of crap in it that tricks your brain and tricks your taste buds and makes you crazy. No, it's going to be kind of fun. It's going to be fun to be out of control with food. And so that some probably man, God bless, right? But it probably is. Some man in some room somewhere is sitting happy with the stacks and stacks of cash, thinking about ways to make me addicted to the food so that I keep coming back for more. And that freaking pisses me off. That pisses me off really, really freaking hardcore, especially because they're still allowed to market to children. And that really pisses me off because my child, the love of my life, and I want nothing but good things for him. And don't get me wrong, oh Lord, this is before I had any nutrition information, but I remember I gave him a red vine one time. He wasn't even like, I wouldn't even think he was able to sit up on his own. He was probably 6 months old. He was maybe just sitting up, and I thought it was cute and funny. I mean, it's just candy, right? Like, who cares? Oh my gosh. And I gave him a red vine, and he was like, he like went like that. And I was like, what are you talking? It's candy. Like, everybody likes candy, like eat the candy. And his cheeks like turned bright red. I mean, long story short, he's allergic to wheat, which red vines have in it. So don't be eating them. Plus they're just chemicals and sugar and wheat. Like, it's crazy, but I didn't know. So if you're still in that camp of like, you just don't know, I totally get it. I totally get it. Just keep staying in here and I'll keep educating you all about that kind of stuff. But there are 3 ways that I think that we can, as consumers, as humans, as mothers, as wives, as daughters, as friends, as just human beings on this planet, there are 3 ways that we can begin to kind of navigate for ourselves and take our power back, right? And not be a slave. So it's like, it's more of a choice instead of a need or a craving or a desire or this like back and forth in the head all the time. Should I, shouldn't I, being a good girl, naughty girl, oh, it's a treat, like all that crap. So the first one, and this is probably easiest and the hardest, right? So the first one is like, we'll just bust out some Nancy Reagan from the 80s and like, just say no. Just a hard no, right? I mean, people do that. People do that all the time. They just go cold turkey and they're like, listen, I've got enough information. I've suffered enough with this crap and I'm over it. And it's just a hard no. I'm not doing that anymore. That's one way to navigate it. Some people do that. They need to do that for themselves in their mind. It's black or white. It's yes or no. There's no in between. And that's just easier for them. It actually is easier. It's honestly easier to do something 100% than it is to do it 98%, because it's like 98% of what? Especially when it comes to food, because we got to eat all the freaking time. So is it 98% of a meal, or is it 98% of the day, or is it 98% of like the meals that you eat over the course of a week, or is it 98% of your whole life? Like those are very different numbers depending on what we're taking the 98% of. And so it can get very confusing. And then you're like, oh, well, this is my 2% my day. And then it's like, you got to be totally perfect, but you're 98%, but like, how long do you need to be to like balance it out? It just makes you crazy. It actually can be a lot easier just as a hard no and go on with your life. That's one method. The next method is making some substitutions. I like this idea, right? So it's like, okay, I get it. I don't need all of that processed food. I probably don't need a bun on everything. You know, I can do a lettuce wrap instead of a bun, or banana cream pie type of thing. Like I can have just like plain yogurt with bananas with some like homemade granola. Okay, I get it. I get how I can have sort of the same idea, but like make some substitutions so that it's a little bit different. Like for example, instead of soda, having sparkling water, instead of high fructose corn syrup, having like a little bit of honey. So there's lots of different ways in which you can substitute with a little intention, right? And that's beautiful because you're showing up to your meals, showing up to your nutrition, to your life intentionally, and thinking about ways in which you can increase the nutrition and decrease the crap. Crap meaning processed anything, right? The sugar and the flour, anything that has like a super stable shelf life, anything with added sugar, like that kind of stuff, you honestly just don't need it. You just don't need it, right? So making some substitutions, that's a really beautiful way. And the third way to really beat the processed sugar and food, it's not even food, it's food-like. It's products. It's things that, I mean, if the definition of food is a substance that you eat or drink that maintains life and health and maintenance and growth, a ding dong is not food, right? Like a red vine is not food. Like, there's nothing about either one of those things that provide and maintain health and growth and maintenance of the body. They are disruptive. It's not empty calories. It's information, and it's negative, bad information. I'm going to talk to this person who's like super toxic and negative and like tells me that I'm a piece of crap. Every day for 20 minutes, I'm going to talk to them and just ingest all of that, you know. What? No, if you have a choice, get the hell out of there, right? Don't keep calling that person. It's the same thing with the Twinkies and the ding dongs, right? It's like, I mean, I get like being addicted and having the habit of talking to that person, but at some point you got to let that stuff go. Okay. So number 3 is going to be the slow and easy way. It's going to be the intentional refocusing. And this is actually the way in which I do it with my private clients in my coaching and my group coaching is we just take one step at a time and we focus on the things that actually matter. We focus on the things that are actually going to give us the results that we desire and stop focusing on all the things that we don't want, because that list is big and crazy. And anytime you focus on all the things that you don't want, it's mental energy focused on all the things that you don't want. Well, that's not super inspiring, one, and it's not super effective, two. And so what you want to do is you want to use your brain, use your mind for your benefit. The mind loves to take things that are repetitive and simple and make sense and create automaticity around them. The mind loves to do that. That's how you created all the bad habits to begin with, right? You did them over and over and over again, and the brain went, oh, okay, if we're going to do this more than a few times, we can make it automatic. Boom, now you have a habit. Well, it can work in the positive way too, which is so freaking cool. And no one really has spent the time to explain this to us and encourage us in this way. So when we focus on what's actually right for us and what's actually good for us, like just start simple with breakfast. Okay, what's a real food breakfast? What are the ingredients that I'm gonna need? I'm gonna need to have some balance. I'm gonna need some protein. I'm gonna need some veggie or fruit. I'm gonna need some starch or carb. Whatever it is, I guarantee that it does not include sugar, flour, or processed food. It doesn't matter what philosophy you go with, whether you want to do keto or you want to do South Beach or you want to contact me and see what my food plan is. Whatever it is that you do, it's not going to include processed food because that is not part of a healthy person's diet, period. Right? So what are the things that we do want to focus on? So just focusing on that and then really getting into a habit with your breakfast, just doing it every single day. Don't worry about lunch and dinner, whatever. Just doing breakfast every single day, really making it a habit. And then this is like the focused, slow and easy way. Then you add lunch to that. Okay, what would a healthy lunch look like? Go look it up. Call me, join my program, do what I have listed. Go to what you know works for you. Ask a friend, read a book, buy a book, go look up online. There's a million ways to think about, okay, what is a nutritious and delicious with no added sugar or crap that's gonna make me crazy and feed that cycle lunch, okay? And then just practice that. Focus on that until it becomes automatic. Maybe it takes a day, maybe it's a week, maybe it's 3 weeks, it's okay. And then slowly add in dinner as well. And just focus on that. So that is really, really 3 very powerful ways. And it's totally going to depend on you, on the type of person you are, the things that you've tried before. And also, you know what? As I'm thinking about it, I think that I use all 3 of these strategies at different times in my life, depending on what's going on. Sometimes for me, the hard no is like the best thing I can do for myself. Sometimes a substitution where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to have whatever it is, but I'm going to have like a little squeeze of stevia in my coffee. Sometimes a substitution works better. And other times this slow, easy where it's like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to focus truly on the things that actually serve and nurture and nourish my body. What is that? It's typically going to be more vegetables. It's typically going to be fruit. It's typically going to be whole grains, nuts, and seeds. That's just the bottom line. And of course, some like, grass-fed, healthy animal protein if you are eating animal stuff. Okay, ladies, I love you so much. And thank you for rolling with my little rampage. Girl, I was like on fire reading these statistics and then coming from being in the classroom with my students and just having them be so confused and frustrated about nutrition. Like it should not be this hard, you guys, to just eat real food and to know what real food is. And the way in which the food industry has come in and taken that word healthy and manipulated it, oh, it drives me absolutely freaking nuts. Okay, I love you so much. Remember, you are worth the time and the energy and the effort of change. You got this, and I will talk to you soon. Love you.